how to handle anxiety. That is the topic of today's video, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. Today's video is just going to be pertaining about tips on what you can do to help with anxiety, and we're just going to go over the definition and the overall premise of what anxiety is to help further and just to get a better understanding to know what to do when you are having anxiety. Now, before I get into the video, I have a quick disclaimer that I want to get out and say real quick before, we get into it. Now, I am not a psychologist, I am not a counselor, and I am not a therapist. I am simply just giving my opinion and my outlook on the situation from experience and what I learned from, just going through it for years and, just really using self-care to be able to get through it and just overall understand it more. So in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about, in general anxiety, just generalized anxiety. I know there are many different disorders and classifications of anxiety that people can be described and diagnosed with. But in today's video, I'm just going to be talking about generalized anxiety because I feel like it wouldn't be right for me to speak on all the other different orders or disorders of anxiety and the classifications if I didn't have that type of knowledge, on a PhD level to speak on it. Now, with that being said, we're going to get straight into it. Now, I want you to think about this in hindsight. Anxiety is not a bad thing. If you think about it, it's something that is wired in our human nature. It's something that's meant to be within us. It's something that's meant to come on. It's something that's meant to come off in, certain situations that may be happening to you in life. You know what I mean? It's like public speaking, taking a test, or playing on a sports team. Things of that nature, just having to perform, worrying about what other people's outlook is, just things of that nature. That's something that can be classified as normal, just stressful anxiety situations. Now, if I'm looking down, well, now that I am looking down, I'm looking at notes that I, writ down and go over to further speak on this topic. And like I said, you know what I mean? Anxiety is normal in stressful situations like the ones I just listed off. So don't think of it as a bad thing. Don't think of it as something that's, detrimental and it's something that you cannot, get through or just, work through on a day-to-day basis when it comes to just general anxiety. Now, the definition of anxiety, which is from Google, where I got it from, I have it put up, right here or over here, wherever it fits at. Intense, excessive, and persistent worry and fear about everyday situations. And, that pretty much, sums up the whole idea of what I'm trying to get at and just general anxiety. Not anything, too deep, like I said, with all the other disorders and classifications of it, but just general, just day-to-day things that can make you feel this way. And one of the things, or one of the main things I feel like that causes this to happen and causes, people to start overthinking and have this fear and this, stress arise and come up in the first place is because you are trying to think ahead into the future about a certain outcome. Now, you may be asking me, what do you mean by that? What does that mean? Say, for instance, you apply for a job. You're waiting back to hear whether or not if you got the offer, if, they're looking into it, but they're not just going to give you it yet, or just knowing, what could happen. Now, with this, you can start stressing out. You can start overthinking it. Am I going to get the job? Am I not going to get the job? Are they going to offer me a different position? Are they even going to look at it in general? And that's just an example of what I mean by that. You know what I mean? You're trying to think ahead and trying to bring up, many different outcomes in your head without even knowing, what is destined to happen, in that certain situation, or what's destined to happen, once that event transpires. You're looking ahead instead of staying in the present and being in the present and not worrying about, outcomes and things like that that you can't control. You just have to sit back and wait. You know what I mean? Now, that's just one example. You could use many different, other examples to, classify that and say that. But I just feel like, as a general rule of thumb, that's the reason why most people have anxiety in the first place. Now, with that being said, here are some quick tips that I wrote down that I think are really helpful to, get through this situation and get through this problem and, to somewhat just help it get better. Now, if it's at a certain point where it is too complicated or it's too stressful to where you feel like you cannot just handle it with self-care, by all means, go out to a psychologist, a mental health counselor, anything of that type of nature to get the certain proper help that you need beyond just self-care. Because, I feel like even with these things, if it's getting to that point, then it is okay to go and seek help. If you need that, go and get that done. Just don't think you can do it all by yourself. All right. So I wrote down 3. One of the first ones I wrote down is meditation. And that's just something that, I thought of and something I just spoke on a little bit with, trying to think ahead into the future about a certain outcome. Because when you meditate, it helps keep you in the present moment. It helps keep you focused and not, worrying about the past or the future, because all your thoughts flow naturally and they're all together and synchronized, as one. And don't, try to let those thoughts, cloud you or overwhelm you or make you feel stressed. Just let them flow naturally and just let them go about how they go about, because when you do this, it'll keep you not only cool, calm, and collected, but it'll just keep you in the present. And, once you focusing on the breathing, all that stuff won't matter, because, you'll just be synchronized with your breathing and just being able to focus on that and being calm in that way. So therefore, the thoughts tend not to cloud your mind or overwhelm you in general, because, once you get the breathing aspect down, that won't be a problem. But I have a separate video on that to go into more depth on how to meditate and what to do to meditate to, be able to calm yourself down and things like that. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is sleeping. Now, this is something I also pulled off of Google too. And I feel like this is probably another main factor of that too, because when you are not getting the proper amount of sleep, you know what I mean? It can regulate your emotions and lowers reactivity, so your anxiety doesn't skyrocket, you know what I mean? Now, that's the good part about it. That's what I was saying as a definition to help out when you are getting enough sleep. But when you ain't getting enough sleep, you know what I mean, it can skyrocket your emotions and just cause your anxiety to be triggered and go over all over the place, because without that sleep, you're not, getting the regulated emotions that you need to be able to not react, in a certain type of way, or have your emotions react in a certain type of way to where, it can trigger that anxiety to come up and, go out of control. And the last one is food. And, this one is something that may be underrated. This is something that some people may not know. Some people may already know or may not. But you know what I mean? Food is probably another one of the most important things about it too, because it holds certain energies. Certain foods hold certain energies. You got to think about it. Do you ever sit back and eat a meal and you're tired and you're sluggish afterwards and you just want to go to sleep? That food holds some type of energy that's making you feel that type of way. Now, that's a different topic for a whole, different day. If I decide to speak on that and get into that. But just think about that, you know what I mean? Because I know you felt that way before. And don't lie either. You know you have. Eating healthy, especially getting carbohydrates like oatmeal, quinoa, and whole grain breads. Those type of things can help, regulate your emotions. And it gives you, I forgot what it is. I had to put it up on the screen, but it's some type of positive chemical that, releases in your brain and makes you feel good from eating those type of foods and eating those type of, grains and type of fibers in those foods that make you feel, certain types of way. And also, just eating fruits and vegetables, simple things like that. Fruits and vegetables too will make you feel better and overall boost your mood. So, your emotions are regulated and at a good, level. So your anxiety doesn't go crazy and skyrocket all over the place. But that's it for today's video. Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And please let me know if it's some things that I could have said better or elaborated on better in this video. And like I said, I'm not a psychologist, a counselor, or a therapist. So, I don't mean to offend anybody or anything like that. If this is, like I said, if it's going beyond your comprehension and you're not able to deal with it just with self-care, then, go and get the help. But with that being said, thanks for watching, thanks for viewing, and peace.